Why can't the Leafs just beat the Canadiens? Welcome to From Center Ice. My name is Courtney, and the Toronto Maple Leafs have a pretty important game tonight. Much like they have been for the last couple months, the past few Leafs games have been very up and down. Since the trade deadline, they beat the New Jersey Devils 3-2, and then Saturday night, they lost to the Montreal Canadiens. Because why not lose to the first team to be mathematically eliminated from the playoffs? And then the very next night, they beat the Florida Panthers 5-2. You lose to the worst team in the league, and then you beat one of the best teams in the league. The Leafs make 0 sense. And yes, I know, they realistically should have won that game against Montreal. They got goalied by Jake Allen, because that's what they've been doing all season long, is just getting goalied by the most random goaltenders in the league. And I'm not saying Jake Allen is just some random guy, but there's just no consistency for when these goalied games happen. Anyway, those games are behind us now, and we have to look forward to the game tonight against one of their other playoff demons, the Boston Bruins. In Boston! I believe I saw on Twitter while I was making notes for this video that they haven't played in Boston since 2019. It's wild how all of these things are happening because of the COVID-shortened season, and then last year with just playing within divisions, except the Canadian teams were all in the North Division, so they didn't play anybody south of the Canadian border. But it's still weird to me that they haven't been in Boston since 2019. That feels like it wasn't that long ago, but then you realize it's 2022, and you know, that was kind of a long time ago. We have all been through some things since then. But tonight is an important game because Toronto and Boston just keep going back and forth in their playoff spots. Currently, the Maple Leafs sit third in the Atlantic Division with that last win over the Florida Panthers, and Boston is in the first wild card spot. After the Leafs lost to Montreal, Boston hopped over them for just a minute until, like I said, they got that win over the Panthers, then Toronto just jumped back over them. And why do they keep going back and forth? Well, they've both played 65 games so far. Both teams have 41 wins, 19 losses. They both have 5 overtime losses for a total of 87 points in the standings, and they both have 39 regulation or overtime wins. Now, where the Maple Leafs have the slight advantage is they have 35 regulation wins to Boston's 33. So that's how the Leafs sit in third in the Atlantic, and Boston is in that first wildcard spot below them. So these two teams are pretty even, at least in terms of their record through the season so far. Here's where they go in their opposite directions. And it happens to be a stat that I find really fascinating, even though nobody else might, but I think it's fun to look at. And that, as you could probably guess if you didn't already know, is goal differential. If you are new to hockey, or if you just have never paid attention to that before, that is your number of goals for versus your goals against. And as expected, the Toronto Maple Leafs have a better goal differential than the Boston Bruins at plus 42. Boston is sitting at plus 26, so still not bad, but you would expect the Leafs to score more goals. And they have. Boston has scored 200 goals this season. Toronto has scored 239. But also, as could be expected, the Boston Bruins have allowed less goals than the Maple Leafs. They've only allowed 174 goals against, whereas Toronto has allowed 197 goals against. So both of these teams can kind of outscore their problems, and that's why they're doing very well. Toronto has to outscore a lot more of their problems, seeing as their goaltenders as of late are baffling. And so are Boston's, but in the opposite way. In their last 10 games, the Toronto Maple Leafs are 6-3-1, and it really doesn't feel like it, does it? Because that's pretty good, all things considered. That's a winning record. But it really feels like things have been a lot worse for the Leafs. Maybe it's just because the losses have been really bad. That game against Montreal, it was only 4-2, but it was Montreal, and they outshot them by like a bajillion. Okay, they outshot them 51-18, but that's basically a bajillion. That game was so ridiculous. But while Toronto's last 10 haven't been bad record-wise, the Boston Bruins are 8-1-1 in their last 10 games. And In their last 3 games, they've gotten a win over the Montreal Canadiens. Of course, it did have to go to overtime. It was only a 3-2 win, but that's more than the Leafs did. And I'll talk about the Bruins leaders real quick in a minute, but first I want to talk about the Leafs. I'm trying to make this video a little shorter because the game is tonight, but I still like to provide you with information. So, of course, he's not the captain of the team, but the leader of the Toronto Maple Leafs on the ice, Auston Matthews, having an absolutely ridiculous season again. It seems like every single season he's played in the league so far, we can say he is having a ridiculous season, and each season is more ridiculous than the last. He's pretty good at hockey. Matthews has 48 goals this year and 35 assists. He is only 2 goals away from hitting that 50 goal marker. He is 5th in the league in points with 83, and he is tied for 1st in goals with Leon Draisaitl. Talk about Boston and Toronto keep bouncing back and forth. It's like the race to the top between Matthews and Draisaitl, who's gonna win the Rocket this year. Of course, we want it to be Auston, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens. That Draisaitl kid over in Edmonton is also pretty good at hockey. In his last 10 games, Auston Matthews has 11 goals and 4 assists. He is more than a goal per game in the last 10, not just point per game at 15 points in 10 games, but 11 goals in 10 games. Ridiculous. Now I want to talk about Mitch Marner. He's got 27 goals this year and 47 assists. And as of late, he's also been on fire. In his last 10 games, he's got 16 points. So 1 more than Auston, but he's got 6 goals and 10 assists. And that's kind of how you would expect things to go. Auston is scoring more goals, Mitch is picking up more assists, but he's got those 6 goals. It is great to see Marner getting on the score sheet in the goal column. And that has to feel very good for him. We all know what is coming up in a few weeks, and said thing was not very nice to the top 2 guys for the Maple Leafs last year. So them playing well going into that, let's hope is a good sign. We must just always have hope, my friends. And then there's Michael Bunting. Technically still a rookie this year, but he's got 50 points on the season. He leads all rookies in points, only by 1 though. Lucas Raymond is only 1 behind him at 49. Trevor Zegras is trying to catch up there too. He sits at 47. And Moritz Seider, a defenseman, is at 42 points. Now there is a lot going on over in Detroit. They just lost 11-2. I believe it was 11-2. I know at least Pittsburgh scored 11 goals, but the score was 7-2 going into the 3rd period. If you saw that, you thought about it too. Don't lie. Thank God the Leafs won that game. Anyway, Michael Bunting is tied for 2nd in rookie goals. He's got 20 goals on the season, and so does Lucas Raymond over in Detroit. Number 1 in the league for rookies is Tanner Jeanneau with 22 down in Nashville. I knew he was going to be an obnoxious player when he drove me crazy playing against the Ice Hogs last year with the Chicago Wolves. I didn't think he'd be this good though. And not only is he tied for 2nd in rookie goals, he is 3rd in rookie assists. 20 goals and 50 points means 30 assists for Michael Bunting. But in his last 10, he's slowed down a bit. He's got 1 goal and 6 assists for 7 points. Now that's still not bad, especially for a rookie, but when we looked at those first 2 guys, Auston Matthews and Mitch Marner, seeing that drop off, it was something I just kind of had to chuckle at because those 2 guys are ridiculous, for lack of a better term. And then to switch over to defense real quick, Morgan Rielly's having a pretty good year himself. He's only got 7 goals, but he has 45 assists. He's 9th in the league in points by a defenseman with 52, and he's number 7 in the league in assists by a defenseman, again at 45. And his last games, statistically wise, are exactly the same as Michael Bunting. 1 goal, 6 assists, 7 points. I also had to chuckle at that because while I was writing down all of these things, the Bruins and the Maple Leafs having the exact same record, and then Bunting and Rielly having the same last 10 game stat line, it just made me laugh. And then we get to goaltending. I saw that Petr Mrázek is likely starting tonight. He did get that win over the Florida Panthers, so thank goodness. Hopefully he is on the upswing here. We need 1 of the Maple Leafs goaltenders to be on the upswing, and Erik Källgren is a rookie. We're not going to sit here and blame him for games that he lost. Again, the Leafs should have won that game against Montreal. But Jack Campbell is back skating, and he could return pretty soon. I saw that on Twitter today, so that is is just a nice fact. Hopefully when he comes back into the lineup, he is the Jack Campbell we all know and love, and not whatever the last couple of months has been for Maple Leafs goaltending. But Petr Mrázek has played in 19 games this season. He has a record of 12-6. He's got a .331 goals against average and an .890 save percentage. That, my friends, is not ideal for a backup goaltender or a goaltender in the NHL. Of course, there have been a lot of strange games lately, but the goaltenders just plainly need to be better. And like I said, hopefully that win against the Panthers sparks at least Morasic to be better, and we'll see what Jack Campbell looks like once he gets back into the lineup after his injury. Now let's hop on over to Boston like I promised, and we're going to start with the goaltending, and it appears that rookie goaltender Jeremy Swayman is going to be in net tonight for the Bruins. He has played 31 games this year. He's got a record of 19-8-3, a goals against average of 2.09, which is second in the league, and a save percentage of .925, which is good for fourth in the NHL. I wonder why the Bruins are doing so well lately. In his last 10 games, he has allowed 20 goals, so averaging 2 goals per game. He's got a .928 save percentage and a record of 9-1-0. I don't know what kind of boost they added to their goaltenders over there in Boston, but that just blew my mind. Maybe because of how bad the Maple Leafs goaltending has been as of late, as well as how bad my Blackhawks goaltending has been of late. But those numbers, wow. I mean, good for him, but seeing as the Leafs have to play him tonight, hopefully he's a bit worse than he has been. Of course, the Leafs seem to do well in the games where they face a challenge and then, you know, like against Montreal, they lose. So maybe they'll be okay. Boston's point leader currently is David Pastrnak with 66 points. He's got 37 goals and 29 assists. So I would recommend that the Maple Leafs stay out of the box tonight. We know that they're not going to get many power play chances, but the least they could do is play a disciplined style of hockey, especially against this power play that could really do damage against you. The last time the Leafs played the Bruins, it was all the way back in November, and the Leafs won 5-2. Auston Matthews had 2 goals, John Tavares had 2 goals, Mitch had 1 goal. So, you know, maybe they can reproduce that result tonight. Plus, the Leafs have gone 2-1-0 since adding Mark Giordano to their blue line. But I'm gonna wrap this up here because I have to get it edited and posted and get ready to watch tonight's game against the Boston Bruins. How are you feeling about the Toronto Maple Leafs? Do you think they're going to win tonight? Do you think they're going to lose tonight? Do you think they're going to stay in that 3rd spot in the Atlantic? Do you think they'll eventually end up in that wild card spot? Let me know all of your thoughts down in the comments. If you would like to hear more from me or from Center Ice, you can head on over to FromCenterIce.com. There's links to all of the places where you can find us. If you're more of a social media person, you can check out links to all of those platforms down in the description. And while you're here, subscribe to this channel, give this video a like. That would make me very happy. All of that said, thank you guys so very much for watching. I greatly appreciate it, and I will catch you all in the next video. Bye, guys.